Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Inforunners. I think it's episode 55 now. Today
Yes,
we're going
55.
to... Yeah, let's get in there. Today we're going to be talking about the top 5 things we'd like to, sooner rather than later, we're going to spill our top 5 in a bucket list that each of us have. And, well, I guess taking it away, we could start with Algared.
Number 5. It needs one of those, doesn't it?
Well, fifth member Snake doesn't like turning up. So, yeah.
Maybe that can all be our top one. Snake turns up on.
Oh yeah, we should have put that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right, number 1, Snake showing up on time.
Right. Do you
We're going number 5.
maybe we should just go down the list and we'll start with Al. What's your top 5, Al?
Well, my number 5, I'm going to not say it because it actually executes number 2.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, my bad.
The Haze, what's your
we'll
number
just move
5?
straight through to someone else.
What's your number 5, Haze?
I don't think I was awake enough to get a number 5, but we'll go for my top one and number 4.
I'll take number 5 then.
Okay, Dasein.
My number 5 is similar to Execute, but not quite the same, because I want to see AI turrets come in your blade units sooner rather than later, because currently turret gameplay, and this is my personal opinion on it, I know some of you guys agree with this, turrets right now are built like World War II turrets where you have limitations of atmosphere as well as maneuverability. But when you're dealing with space, with all the degrees of freedom and everything, it's basically a complete and total waste of time. Something like an AI would be better suited and more entertaining for your people, as well as actually probably a lot more effective. So it'll actually make the turrets useful.
Yeah, I got to agree with that, because the turrets at the moment, it's one of those things they really need to get working on. Like, I honest to God wish they'd rush the Hammerhead out before a lot of other ships, just so they can work on the new improved turrets and, you know, sort of get those mechanics knocked out of the park.
I'm kind of iffy about that because, like, if they rush and get it wrong. But that is what my number 5 is. Mine is literally ship turrets and combat of ships as a whole. And I think that we've kind of had a nod to this already. They're saying that they're going to look at Arena Commander and how the ships function. And I think we can all kind of agree there's a huge disparity between ships at the moment. And I specifically want the turrets to be working because I think it's going to be a huge... The multi-crew is a big part of it.
So you reckon that there's a disparity between ships that have turrets and rely on them and ships that don't, basically?
Pretty much, yeah. That not even that though. Like if you even look at the fighters, there's disparities between the fighters. They're not only do they need a balance, but like how do I put this? At the moment, people seem to want the ability to escape really easily, and when there was one period of time where they had it so the combat was really close together, and I have to say it was really interesting. I actually preferred it that way, but it wasn't as skillful. So they need some way to be able to make you really close and skillful, as well as, you know, because like the ship at the moment, the ships are just too far away and there's this little tiny dot, and I guess if I had a 6, like seriously, my 6 would be controls. There's a serious problem with controls at the moment. So.
I think that they're really looking for controls at the moment. They hired a proper physics engineer for the proper flight models, and you know, it's a shame they didn't give him 100% of the screen time when they talked about flight model. They gave it to 3 of these developers who went, oh, it's great, we did this in drag and all the things that we saw in 3.0, and then he got a little bit of time to talk about all the advanced flight mechanics he's planning to put in future releases, which was far more interesting what those other people were saying. It's like they didn't understand flight mechanics, and here we have the expert given a fraction of the screen time when the show really should have been about him talking about what we are going to see in the future. And a lot of people who really weren't quick on the uptake got sort of mixed messages about what to expect because of that.
And I got to agree with you guys on the turrets. Like, even though I didn't choose turrets, it's one of those things that does give added gameplay to a lot of the ships. So, you know, any ship with a turret, the Retaliator actually becomes a playable ship once turrets become usable. The Hornet gets an extra lease of life. The core
Multiplayer game. Multi-crew is what I said, because like if you break it down to the simplest level, Algared, you tell me if I'm wrong here, you have a driver and you have your turret crew, and that combat's a big thing of this game. Like it's one of the first things they did. So when I look at it like that, driving is kind of cool, but that needs work as well. But
Yep.
the turrets have just never ever been functional in my book, and even they are better now in 3.0. But I think
But they're still pretty crap.
yeah, and a part of it though is that distance thing I was talking about. Just
Yeah.
in general,
It's
there's
really
something-
the distance and also the angles that you can approach, because again, the big thing is, well, the other person is dodging, trying to get an angle on you. You're sitting there trying to hit this target who is literally at the speed you're going at. You may only get one hit in a pass, and that's not enough to really phase anything. And fixing this also would help Arena Commander, because if you get turrets that are able to act, just imagine the Connies or the Boom Booms.
Well, I think they could, fix a lot of those things. It doesn't really matter how far away a target is. The idea that you have to bring things up closer, that's not necessarily true. If you had a proper tracking solution and it allow you to get a close-up image on the side of the close-up of, where your coursers are. So in other words, it's a long way away, but then just amplify the image up to a larger size. And you say, oh, but I shoot now, it takes forever to get from A to B. Just increase the speed of what you're firing, and it doesn't matter. If you connect,
that would probably change the way the turrets work.
It would
need to change the way they want the turrets to work, I should say, rather than the way the turrets work.
The thing is, it's not necessarily a problem of having to get up close in order to hit anything. It's just that they need better systems in place to make this work seamlessly.
I'm hoping we see a lot of that this year. Like, it seems to be what Chris said at the end of the, if you watch the director's commentary, and I know you guys all have, is they spent a lot of last year now. I had to get that right, sorry. Last year working on getting technology, and it sounds like this year they might actually start working on some of the games. So I'm hoping we see lots of cool improvements this year. So good year.
I'll stop you guys talking more about this, because I actually think while turrets is good, it actually relates, I think, to my number one. So
okay. All right, let's move.
So
on.
I'll stop our conversation there and move us on to.
So let's
number 4.
So I'm gonna be greedy here and do my number 4, and mine is group mission sharing. So the ability, even very simply, like at the moment where you do a cargo run or you go and get a crate and deliver it somewhere, the ability just to share that with a mate and split, even if it's split 50-50, it's something that simple. I think that would be really cool to get that multi-crew flow working, because at the moment, we do it, but we don't get any payoff.
I think we will see that come in with player contracts and service beaconing, the idea that you can pay someone a certain amount. So let's say the mission reward is such, then you do a group contract to pay them half if we complete the mission.
Well, the thing is, it also brings in pirating properly, because at this point in time, you can go in there with, let's say, an EMP ship or a military ship, and you can say, hey, give me your cargo and I'll blow you up, or give me some money, and you can actually get that from it. It opens up an actual reason to do a little bit of that without them having to invest a whole bunch of time and effort into currently making somehow containers magically leave your ship. So that actually is one way that they could do that with a quick and easy fix.
No, I'm kind of inclined to agree. All right, let's move on to the next one then.
All right,
next.
Dyson, what was your number 4?
Well, my number 4, sorry, I'm just going on my list, and this is a big pet peeve of mine, it's quantum travel. They need to work on how they do it, and this is the biggest issue that I have currently in the main Star Citizen right now, which is I have this horrible interface, which I'm trying to interface with. Let's say I'm all the way up at Levski, and I'm trying to quantum all the way to Olisar. I have to make 2 stops because I can't get the interface there to actually work. So you can actually see it. And then you got the fact that if I'm under attack, I can't just magically hit a random quantum jump. And if you're doing cargo runs, you need to have the ability to maybe select a couple beacons and have them be just permanently up for you, so you can actually travel fairly easily.
No, yeah, but they've talked about this though, the idea that you'd set a waypoint base, whether it be your navigator or just yourself, and then that way, as you go to each, jump, it will reposition the place you go to next. So in other words, you plot a flight course essentially.
So
they just don't have that in yet.
So not just quantum, it's kind of like nav points. Is that what it really is? Like,
yeah.
I would say
Because when you said quantum, I was like thinking they just did a thing on one of the ATVs about quantum jumping. But anyway, I'm just
I would see that as more of a navigation between points and being and do that.
And the ability to share nav point data with multiple ships.
They did also talk about that in the CitizenCon director's cut. So yeah, that is something that's coming. So yeah, you're likely going to see that soon, Dasein.
I really hope to see it sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Likewise.
My number 4 is actually the repair feature, not just going to Cryastro Station. Yes, I finally didn't call it Crytek. Yes.
Wonder if that is why it's called that, Cryastro.
And it could be.
All these confusing names that are so similar, like Daymar and Dalimar, and like, oh god, it's so confusing.
It is, Cryastro is a Xeon foreign national, so could be related. But my hope for is to see repair come in, not just going to the station, but being able to repair items in your ship. Again, coming back to that group play type idea. If you've got a group ship, having someone be able to change out burned out systems and put a new system in, make those small repairs, do the handheld repair. I've put it so low because it while I want it, it actually needs a lot of other things to go with it. So it needs the ability for groups, it needs a lot more mechanics for the handheld repair, so it needs a lot more animations done. It needs...
You need to be able to take components as cargoes, you can swap them in and out.
Yeah, that's right. So... And it needs, and for the ships, it needs actually repair ships that can actually do repairs. So at the moment, while I'd like to see it, there's a lot of stuff that needs to go in before it can actually be functional. So that's why I've got a number 4.
I think, just as a tip to those kind of professions, actually, I'll talk about it later. So go on, what's yours, Haze?
Okay, and Haze?
Okay, my number 4, because I was too tired from late night graveyard shift to make a number 5. But anyway, I really want to see the organization tools that they've promised us for how many years ongoing now. I mean, like, organizations is what keeps these communities running. This is the bread and butter of Star Citizen, and they have neglected so much. A lot of promised features that are really simple stuff that, Turbulent could have implemented yonks ago, but they seem to be more interested in VoIP and voice over IP and Spectrum forums and redoing the website again. It's sort of like, it's simple things like, being able to, in our org at the moment, we have a different sort of tier system that's got more positions than what the website can handle, so we don't even bother. It's sort of like, it doesn't even represent what our org does. And things like fleet viewers, I mean, this really simple stuff that was, promised a long time ago, and things like channel controls and like no one's ever going to use Spectrum chat seriously, even if it's in the game, unless they are allowed to form groups and tiering and allowed us to put admins and stuff. At the end of the day, they've promised voice and chat and said, look, here it is in Spectrum, but it's almost worthless because there's no tools.
And at the moment, where do people go for
Discord?
Well,
yeah,
we're all on Discord.
Yeah.
I think eventually it'll move through. Just give it time. Again, it needs more development, and you can't look at the website and say it didn't need a rework. It really did, and
I'm not saying it didn't, but where are the priorities at? Like this is like.
If I put org versus priority of new people, I'd still put new people, and that's why the website I think needed to be redone first. But that's just me. If you disagree, that's fine. But I do agree.
3.0 is orgs coming in, and this is where people are going to start getting interested in org. There's new people are going to come in that they bring in from the new website. They're going to come in, look at the game, say, "Well, great, there's not much to do," and then leave. But if they come in, there's an org easily organized, able to do things and create their own player-driven content. Like we had a death rally last night with org members. I mean, something like that type of stuff keeps people in, and you need this stuff to back that up.
Okay.
Number
3.
Definitely something we need sooner rather than later.
Okay, so number 3. Haze, what have you got for number 3?
Oh, I get a double turn though. Okay.
Yeah, you do.
Number 3 is ability to spawn friends in your hangar. I mean, but before you actually launch a ship, I think the idea that we have to grind or we're in different locations and I want someone on my multi-crew ship, it's an absolute pain in the ass sometimes, especially if they're saved off in a different location. The idea that I have friend here and I can spawn my ship here, I want my friend to be able to at least spawn in the same location so he can get in the same ship and then we can go off and do stuff together. And I think that's, or even just to get a friend in a hangar so we can put cargo or put a rover in it beforehand. Like if you have a hangar module where you can spawn the rover in, spawn the ship, load the rover up beforehand, these are important things. And I think it goes a long way into the whole multi-crew and the multiplayer type aspect. It makes things much easier.
And it relates to that old one of taking your friends into your hangar and showing off your stuff as well.
Exactly.
I've actually got an idea on how they can do this. Have you guys ever seen? There's this TV show that's just recently been cancelled. It was called Dark Matter.
Oh, it got cancelled.
Sorry, but yeah, I really like.
You are the bearer of so much bad news.
Yeah.
Someone just kicked your puppy right there.
Yeah. So anyway, so you obviously know what I'm talking about. But in Dark Matter, they have this. They don't have teleportation, but what they do is you go to sleep in like a bed, and it clones you into another body, and you walk around in the clone, and after you've done everything, you can lie back in, and it uploads the clone's brain kind of cells to your brain, but only if you get back. Like if the clone dies, you don't get it back. But long story short,
and go, oh bugger.
Long story short,
so I can't remember what I did last night. Is what the thing is. It's like.
Right.
And put this into Star Citizen. So if I'm at Port Alisar and you're literally 5 systems away, I can get into an easy hab or whatever, and it clones my body to a UI, and I can go do missions with you and vice versa. Yeah. So basically, it's just a really simple mechanic that allows you to teleport, but make it because it's not. And the cool thing is because it's not your body. When you get to the other end, that you can't take anything with you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So it solves the whole mechanic of being able to teleport without having teleportation for items. So it's really clever.
And the other thing with that is it kind of picks up that agent smithing idea, but it also enables you, if you survive and get back to your bed, then anything you made on the mission, like cash you made on the mission, could be transferred across. But if you don't survive, well, that gives you that loss of.
Yeah, you don't get the XP. So
I don't get the XP, or I don't get the money.
So your reward is actually doing a really good job, but if you stuff up. So for example, if I go in and want to troll someone with my clone and I die, I don't get any payoff. See, the more ways you look at it, the more way it's all win. I think it's such a great idea, but that's just me. And I'm biased because I came up with it. But
well, the thing is, I know they don't have the NPCs in yet, or which you could probably Agent Smith to. But I think the whole idea of being able to, one, let people come into your hangar, get you into your ship and ready, put the cargo, the rover, anything in before you go. These are things they could do now. And it would have huge effects on people playing together, which is what you want. There's huge incentives
put a rover in to begin with, because honestly, you should have the ability to spawn 2 ships, like a Dragonfly or something like that, and be able to put that in there, or have the option now already have the vehicle in there.
Yeah, it's part of the cargo.
Right now, you have to go to some place on the ground that can spawn it, and then load it up, and it's a bunch of effort if I want to just land on some random moon and explore.
It'd be nice even if you could do that in your actual hangar. Spawn up your rover or your vehicle, put it in your ship, then persistence. Once it's loaded in your ship, that's where it's stored.
Yep.
When you spawn that ship, it's in there. So, yep. Okay. Dasein, you're number 3.
Okay, my number 3 is going to be an interesting one, and I know Haze has it as his number 3 as well, kind of. Scanning mechanics. I want the ability now to be able to actually, depending on how your ship works, start seeing differences in your scanner rating, being able to actually have your power management actually work. What is stealth mode? Stealth mode really only seems to apply to missiles a little bit, but I want to actually see that apply to your visual range, so you can actually sneak up on people or have those mechanics work, and then also be able to maybe find outposts or other hidden things like the javelin rack. Cool, if your scanning mechanics work, just imagine flying by an Aquila, then all of a sudden saying, hey, there's something interesting down here, go check it out. That type of stuff needs to be in there sooner rather than later, because exploration is actually a rather simple mechanic to put in, and all you have to do is get scanning to work. Also makes PvP more interesting.
Okay.
And since that's also one of my topics, I'll go on to what I want out of scanning. I'm much more simplistic. I want something simple. I want to be able to have ground radar, like any other plane. Like, I'll give you an example. I was flighting with Execute on the dark side of the moon. What was it? Dalimar?
Did we go Daymar to...
Daymar, you had to see the Javelin, right? Except we did it in pitch black in the middle of the night. Okay.
It was fun though.
It was fun though, yeah. But like, other than randomly hitting mountains we can't see out of nowhere, and like not being able to land because we can't see the ground, and
You're gonna mention my number 2.
I'll stay away from that. But the whole idea is, you want like a visual representation that shows the topology of a ground, so that you can, one, fly in the dark, and two, be able to scout out and understand what's actually below you. And I want to build on top of that. The real thing I really want to be able to use is better landing mechanics. You want that's yours? I better stop.
That's like number 1 and 2. You bastard.
Yeah. Okay. And part of the thing, before I do stop you guys and move on to Execute, I will say that part of the problem with the radar issue is actually the planets are actually too dark at the moment. It's not pitch black. It shouldn't be pitch black on the dark side. Because you've got like stars and residual light, so there should be some form
Hang
of...
on, I'll get onto that when it comes to mine, because that is that really is a part of mine at number
That
2.
relates to it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll go over it when we get to my number 2. But my number 3 is service beacons, which we know are coming fairly soon. But yeah, the sooner rather than later will be fantastic. And I think a lot of what I was saying about the group mission sharing and that, I think they will come into play with service beacons. Are you guys? I know Al had that as number 5.
Yeah,
that's right. That was my number 5, and I think that is actually something that really is needed for the group build on the group play. The reason I had it to number 5 is because I think the other aspects of things like repair and that, they all feed into that. And so once you've got those abilities to do those jobs, then it makes the need for service beacons there. At the moment, what need do we have for service beacons? I've lost my ship. Can someone pick me up?
Well,
That's about it.
I've got a friend of mine, and he complains there's nothing to do in Star Citizen at the moment unless you go out with friends and, hijinks around the place. And the thing is, service beaconing actually puts a regular list of things to do, interact with other people, or even get other people to interact with you, on the fly. And suddenly everything becomes so much more interesting once you put in service beacons.
I would say also amongst that, you can also now have the beginnings of bounty hunting starting to come in. Not in necessarily the capture form, but at least in the, hey, let's take this guy out form. This guy took my caterpillar out. Hey, I'm putting a service beacon that appears everywhere. Hey, can you take X person out for me? I'll pay you X amount of money.
Yeah, okay.
Dasein, what's your number 2?
No, what's my number 3?
Oh, sorry. No, it's not important.
Yeah, me, guys. Yeah, they don't care, Respect the aged, guys. Respect the aged. So my number 3 is, again, kind of a gameplay type idea. It's a refueling, fuel harvesting, and refining technique aspect. Now, CIG have said that's coming, so that's great. The reason I got it at number 3 is, again, other things need to be coming. Once you bring in fuel harvesting, it's going to change the price on the market, so you'll need to rebalance that. But it also adds to the gameplay at the moment. So many ships fly out, they run out of fuel. So this gives gameplay to a ship that's already in game, the Starfarer. So it gives the Starfarer the ability to make fuel. It gives the Starfarer the ability to refine fuel and refuel others. It gives the Starfarer the ability to refuel places like, sell fuel to places like Cryastro Station, or restock any of the other space stations are out there. So it actually adds gameplay, and so adds to that multiplayer ship. Now with that, I would expect you'd see the stations for the refinery on the Starfarer fixed up, so you'd actually have another position for a player to use, adding to that multiplayer.
They haven't really stuck that in, is it? It's like empty rooms, and I haven't... The interfaces for the refueling, I think there's a couple of consoles, but most of the equipment for the refinery, it's
places for it.
Yeah,
but it's not there. But they have said refueling will be coming.
I think you'll find if you kind of look at the you know how at the moment when you click on the menu on a
Yep.
a screen, it's kind of got 5 little windows and then there's a couple extra boxes. I think some of those boxes will be ship-specific features.
Hmm.
That makes sense to me from looking at the gameplay, and therefore, so you'd have a refueling one for the Starfarer, or fueling, or intake,
Yeah.
or whatever they're going to call it. And basically, you might even have a gathering one and a giving fuel one, so there might even be 2 different screens.
Yeah. And there'll be a station, and there'll be stations that actually do that as well, I think. Sorry, Dyson.
Oh, yeah,
I think
unless
that mechanic interesting also with having missions kind of off the beaten path, which expect you to expend fuel too. And you go in there and you kind of need that extra multi-crew or maybe even an AI Starfarer out there to refuel on, and that can be some interesting exploring mechanics just starting off right there.
I wouldn't mind the sea to be able to take the mission and go with nothing out but a jerry can for a smaller ship. It's like you get out an EVA and pour in the fuel on the side of the tank.
Manual jerry can.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go on to our number 2s. Haze, we'll go across to your number 2, I think.
Okay.
Actually, no,
we've done
number 2
yeah,
because
skip that.
it's kind of been dealt with.
yeah,
And it's going to get dealt with again
it's your
and,
number 1 now.
because it's my number 1.
So do Dyson's number 2.
So Dyson, your number 2.
My number 2 is actual persistence. I'm talking about legit actual persistence. If I log out at Levski, I should appear at Levski. If I want to log out of my ship, I personally like the idea. If I don't have a bed, my ship's just sitting there for people to shoot or something forever, or something. Or if the server crashes, I can actually get back to my ship. Like, actual persistence of that, cargo, and all sorts of things. That needs to be in the game, as well as your drain on ammo, your damage to your ship. All of that needs to be sooner rather than later, because it adds interesting mechanics instead of, oh, well, I just go back and get my ship back.
No, you don't.
There was one time I actually did log out at Levski in 3.0, and it has actually logged me back at Levski.
Yeah,
so
same here.
it's partially working.
It's a work in progress.
Unfortunately, I've got 2 ships. One ship is at Levski with its load of cargo because I logged off in the ship once it was landed in the hangar bay and went to the bed and all the rest of it, and woke up in Olisar. Where's my ship? Oh, it's on Levski. My second ship is a constellation that I targeted towards ArcCorp and set it on major boost and just flew off and then went to bed. And I come back and where am I? I'm on Olisar. Where's my ship? Oh, my ship's at Daymar. And so I've got 2 ships that are in places that I need to get a ship to actually fly to so I can actually get my ship to fly home. So
just file a claim for the one on Daymar. The one with the cargo you are going to have to go pick up or you'll lose the cargo.
yeah, I know that.
But real persistence is needed. It makes things more interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if you log off on your ship and it's got a bed, they need to get that in sooner than later. That's useful. Because most people who lose cargo is when the server goes... and then everything...
If you don't have a bed, it should have a period of time where you can log back in quickly. Because, great example, server crashed, and I come back in, and I'm like, well, this ship doesn't have a bed. I had to wait 10 minutes to get my ship back. Instead of being, oh, well, I can resume wherever I was as long as I'm logging in with it.
Yeah, well, originally they did talk about if you were logging off in, even if you had a bed and you were logging off, the ship would kind of hang around there for a while, and if no one was in the area, then it'd despawn, but you wouldn't be able to log off if people were in the area. So, yeah, it's something that I think they do need to do. It'd be nice to have. It'd be nice not to have that waking up in Olisar when your ship is elsewhere. Or being able to, when the game crashes, come back in and get into your ship. Execute your number 2.
My number 2 is very, very similar to Haze's number 1, so we'll talk about it when Haze's number 1. So
Okay.
I think that's everyone's number 2s anyway. So maybe we could talk about now, Haze. How about that? So
Yeah, by all means.
my number
Actually, hang on.
1.
My number 2.
All right, go for it.
My number 2 is mining. So ship mining for, again, you're getting a theme here. It's adding content to a ship that is already in game but has absolutely no use apart from being a lovely viewing platform. But it also increases by adding the the task. It increases the ability to other players to get involved in doing things. But it also has that need for once you add mining, and you're mining up those resources and the diamonds or the laranite or whatever, it's going to need a rebalancing of the market as well. So while it might be easy enough to do, it's also something that's got a whole carry-on effect for the other things.
Yeah, that's going to happen a lot as the game goes forward. Rebalancing of lots of things. That's going to be everything from flight to the market. That's going to go on instantly. And I think wipes. That's going to happen.
And that's going to cause those wipes that we're going to need to see as well. So yeah. So
all right.
Number 1.
Yeah.
Haze.
So Haze is number 1 and my number 2. But you go ahead, Haze. I'll follow up.
Okay, so my number 1 is really, really simple. You know how you got cars and they have parking-based systems where it shows you the car, and around it shows you cameras from every direction looking at the ground, showing where you're actually going. Are you going to hit that car? Are you going to back into this post? I mean, like, you know, this is stuff we need right now. Am I going to back my constellation into this rock, or get, you know, a huge rock under my landing gear or something? And, you know, at the end of the day, combining that with, you know, lights shining down so you can see what the cameras are showing, this is something we need, and something they have the tech for with render to texture. It doesn't have to be high resolution. It can be just a grayscale pixelated mess, but as long as it shows us, you know, whether or not we're about to hit that rock.
Tell them how we discovered this and what happened to Blazin.
Oh god. So we were trying to.
How many seconds was it? Like 10 seconds I missed him by?
Yeah. We went off to the Javelin after parking Olconi, and Execute and Blazin started to run out of air. So it was like a race to get back to the constellation, which we parked a kilometer away because we took the rover.
And then the rover flipped.
The rover flipped, and we're trying to run out, and he's almost out of air. And I think Execute died on the way, and Blazin actually made it back to the landing site. And unfortunately, the ship, we were trying to land the ship again to get him into the ship.
No, the ship was locked.
Oh, that's right, the ship was locked. Okay, and then you flew back with another constellation, right?
Yeah.
And then we couldn't get you to land properly on time because you'd land on a rock, or something would hit, and then we couldn't get into it. And so you were just, even with another person trying to guide the constellation, try to land it on a flat surface. Unfortunately, he ran out of air 10 seconds before we got the proper landing, and of course he ran out of air. And
So
it was tragic.
Was in a noob suit. We're all fully kitted out.
Yeah.
And Haze is the only one that made the whole mission.
Yeah.
Because he had a noob suit, which gives him a lot more oxygen.
Yeah.
Cool.
So my added part to that was also when we were going into the Javelin at night, something that Haze actually said that makes a lot of sense is we know we have the geometry of the land. So what if there's like a night mode? So there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either have like night vision, which is a bit outdated in my opinion, or you can use the wireframe of the geometry to say put green lines, like, you know, those old video games where they did terrain, and have that laid out over the terrain.
Just show us the tessellation in real time.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, that would be really cool.
And then that way when you fly in, like, and I know people that are listening will be able to relate to this. When you take cargo ships to Levski at night, and there's because it's like in a crater, you literally just crash into the side of the crater before you get there. So
I did that.
Algared said it's too dark. I don't think it's too dark. I just think they need tech to reflect the era. So rather than night vision, do wireframe.
I'd like to see IR as an option as well, so you can actually see. Sorry to interrupt you, but they have mentioned that in the different scanning modes, IR is one of them. So maybe it will come with scanning potentially.
Yeah, I want visualized versions of these so we can, you know, have a visual of what's on the surface. Yep. You know, I don't want to say, oh, I detect something at this range with IR or electromagnetic. I sort of want a visual interpretation that I can then use to navigate with.
I like being able to actually see ships on the ground. That's the advantage of IR, and that's something I would really like to see: is ships, animals, like
people.
Trying to find you guys. Like if I was trying to find you guys at night, trying to rescue you guys, I need something to be able to let me know besides maybe a ship beacon somewhere.
Lots of cool options there, because if you've got infrared, the ship will show up really cool, people will show up really cool, and also if you can just do the wireframe of ships if you're looking for some kind of I don't know what scanning would that be, but ship cross sections or something like that.
Yeah,
So
radar.
radar. I reckon there's definitely some cool options there. So we just have to wait and see.
So,
I do think it's really important.
And I'll chime in there because scanning mechanic and radar is actually my number one, and it's number one because it ties into everything. So a proper scanning mechanic which enables you to spot other ships or scan for the resources that you might want, which ties into mining or ties into the Starfarer refueling, are core mechanics. But also the radar ability to be able to get a map of the land or get a better view of the land. Flying down at 100 meters above the land, and then suddenly hitting a rock because there's a mountain there which doesn't show on your radar kind of sucks. I do still think, even though it's a dark side of the planet, but the planets are still a bit too dark, because when you've got stars,
Algared,
Algared,
have you ever been to space?
No, but I've been.
Have you ever been to a place that doesn't have electricity?
I have, and you've often got.
It's not nearly as dark.
It is.
It is dark, but it's not nearly as dark as we've got, because you've got unless it's a very cloudy night. If you've got stars in the sky or the moon, you have some residual light.
Your vision does adjust. Actually, it's not. It's not.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Yes, but in game, it doesn't. In game, it is pitch black regardless of how long you've been there. Your vision doesn't adjust.
Maybe they need the ability for your eyes to adjust. It sounds really crazy, but I think maybe they should do that. So initially it's pitch black, and then after a minute or two it lightens.
So I'm not saying that blackness in itself is a bad thing, because the dark side should be dark. But it's too dark because you're not getting that residual light from the stars or the moon or the planet in the, on Daymar. You've got Crusader in the horizon.
Yeah, and it's still pitch black. You can't see anything.
And
it should be acting like a moon.
You should have a residual light, giving you some form of lighting, even if it's a red haze or a blue haze or whatever's caused by it. But it shouldn't be that absolute pitch darkness because there's no light source. There is a light source, it's just not the main light source.
It's an important light source, because a good example is I was actually landed the other day in one of my ships, and I went out to explore it, and I went back, and I couldn't see the ship until I literally ran into it with the power off, because there's literally not enough lighting. You'd expect a little bit of at least some shimmer somewhere.
Yeah, and at the moment we don't have that. So I do want the radar to give us better view and that tessellated view and be able to fly our ship better, but also just being able to see slightly better, even if it's just silhouettes at times, and even if it's a gradual thing that builds up. Yeah. So that's my number one.
Dasein, your number one.
I think my number one will be a lot of people's number one. And as much as I said the quantum stuff really annoyed me, this next part, dynamic HUDs, people. Dynamic HUDs. If I'm staring at something dark, green looks great. If I'm staring at something bright, give me a darker HUD. Like, have it change so I can actually see what in the world I'm doing. Oh, pull up Moby. I can't even see what my Moby glass is.
Yeah, they could fix this in one fell swoop by allowing you to quickly adjust with a slider the color of what your HUD is at any one time.
Well, you shouldn't have to adjust it. It should also have dynamic. So
or even set it like there's an option for a mouse pointers and window that I use called inverted. So when my mouse pointer changes color depending on what's behind it. So you could do that with colors. It's not hard. So if it's on a green background, it could change.
Well, you've also got people who might be colorblind of a particular color. Being able to choose your color is very powerful.
Well, you should be able to do that, but you should also make it naturally dynamic. So whatever I'm staring at, that background, it will affect what color it is. Because again, and that would help every mechanic that we've talked about, even like turret mechanics or even scanning on planets, because it's hard to see that altitude meter while your speed meter on the light side of the planet.
The dynamic sounds nice, but the thing is, a user-based dynamic system would also work very well. It'd be a good stopgap and it would require very little coding.
I think that's definitely going to come in time, but yeah, sooner rather than later.
They already have the orange HUDs in the game, so they can make it simple enough just that you can select a different HUD color.
So Haze, your number one.
We did that.
I think mine's the last one, isn't it?
All right, so then yours execute.
Yeah, so mine's similar to a lot of Algared's, and it's basically just more gameplay mechanics. So I'm really looking forward to that June update as of yesterday. So basically just adding all the different types of gameplay mechanics, because at the moment there's very minimalistic. It's kind of combat and cargo, and that's about it. So
the March update seems more like, yeah, we'll keep polishing 3.0.
Well, it's not even proper combat. That's the thing. It's like it's more griefing than pirating, because I can't even take your cargo. Just saying.
Yeah, and a lot of these are, like, I'm going to say, like, this whole list for me is more like hopes and dreams, because the game's still in development, and it is great. Fundamentally, if you kind of look at this list, it's really what makes it more game playable for us. But at the end of the day, it's still being developed. So their list, or the list as it comes in, is always going to trump ours, because we want it to be able to play it. But unfortunately, just going to have to be patient. So yeah.
Oh, cool effect on my bottle.
Yes, needs drinking invisibility.
It's iocane.
He's actually 17 years old, guys, and that's how he looks that old. He just drinks invisibility all the time. He's drunk on invisibility.
That's right. All right. Questions?
Yeah, I think that's...
Because I did notice there were a few questions that went up, so...
Let's have a look at these questions. From the top. Question, Denny BH. Have a hammerhead to Polaris upgrade, what to do? Sit on it and wait.
Enjoy the hammerhead, because it'll come out first, and then when the Polaris comes out, you can upgrade if you want, or keep where you are.
I actually replied to this one, and I asked him what ships he had, and the reason I asked what ships he's had is I actually think that's going to determine which upgrade you'd end up viability using. So if you have lots of capital ships, then you want a Polaris to defend it. If you have lots of fighters, then you want a hammerhead. Or smaller ships, I should say. Would you agree with that, Haze?
Yeah, sort of. Like, if you've got ships to play with at the moment, but if he's talking about choosing between the Hammerhead and the Polaris, it's always safer to just sit on the CCU and play the waiting game.
That's true.
I still say he gets to enjoy the hammerhead first, and then he can upgrade after.
Yeah, but if he doesn't want the Polaris, that kind of rules it out. That's my...
No, but he just melts the Polaris and buys it back as a hammerhead.
That's true.
Yeah, actually, that's
true.
Solid.
So,
Alright, next question.
We didn't have many questions, to be honest.
I thought we had a couple more besides that. I saw earlier on the other side. Can you sort through? I could have swore I saw at least two more.
there were a couple of others that they didn't have.
Yeah, but there's a question execute us, and then I'm like, okay. And there's a lot of talking back and forth between execute, but not questions. Okay, we got one question now.
What did execute ask? Ask execute.
Fine,
that's
jeez, feeling special. What did you ask your own question? Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Because Dyson was talking, and it prompted me to ask the question.
Execute AU asks, has anyone else noticed the stealth button on the UI of ships now, and what does it do? Execute, you can answer this.
I don't know what it does.
Yes, I have noticed.
With it. It helps with missiles, but it really hasn't helped with acquisition range, at least that I've noticed.
It reduces the IR and other outputs you got. Also, if you can actually, if you're in your hangar, change out some of your components and put in the more stealth ones, and they will actually lower the output you're putting out, and that will change things. But how much it changes them and how much it changes the interaction of others to your ship, I have no idea.
Well, missiles have always reacted to IR-based signatures and in radar properly. Like, if you shut down those systems, the missiles literally lose their lock. So,
but that's about it.
Yeah, but who's to say that, you know, putting in a combination of stealth components in order to more easily evade missiles is not a thing, you know? That might be useful.
It is a thing, but it goes back to what I was saying, proper scanning mechanics. You need to have that stealth equate to also, when do I see you on my radar? So if I'm wanting to, let's say I'm wanting to hunt you down as a pirate, or I'm wanting to engage in a dogfight with you, I can hit stealth, drop off the radar. Or if I'm evading someone, I can drop. Let's say I've sped away, managed to speed away. I dropped that. And now the person can't tell where I am because I've dropped off his radar. That needs to be in the game because, well, it's a thing.
Just to add a little to this, you know how you've got your kind of default power, and then you've got your stealth. So obviously they're going to allow you to have shortcuts into stealth mode. I'm wondering if they're going to let you have kind of different builds for other things. So like an attack one, so or a defense one. So if your shit hits the fan, you can just click that button and it ups your shields and engines and cuts your guns so you can get out of there. I think vice versa.
The big one with the stealth button is what it's doing is it's reducing the power that you're putting into the systems.
Yeah. But it's like what I'm saying though is it's obviously you can do it manually.
Yeah.
Right? But what I'm saying is it's like a saved state. So it's putting to me it looks like it's going to be a button you click and it puts you into stealth mode just by changing some settings.
Yeah. So it'd be nice if you could actually have a saved state, but
and then you can set it for whatever.
Put more power to engines and shields rather than weapons.
So they used to have that. They had like 3 saved power states you could switch between.
So like a little pull down button that you can save a couple of different names.
Useless too. Like I see it help with shields and weapons, but not with engines.
You used to have that where you could actually turn your weapons on and off. At the moment, I've tried turning weapons on and off, or systems on and off in the Connie or another ship, and it just doesn't work. You just clicking for all you want, but they stay on. So I imagine once you do that, if I reduce the power going to my weapons, so you've got the triangle, but if I turn my weapons off, all that power is now available just for shields and engines. So you can get that kind of sorta, or you used to be able to get it, but at the moment we can't because we can't turn systems off.
Okay, next question. Jesse J asks, what about adding brighter spotlights to ships and super bright headlights on suit masks? Look, I am 100% behind this because at the moment, like, when I was going on the Javelin, pitch dark, there's no other brightness, my headlight was so fiddly I could barely see my feet. And it shouldn't be like that. If you put any light source in a pitch black environment, it should light it up like all around you. You should be able to see everything nice and bright. And same with the headlights on the Constellation. We're in pitch blank in a ravine and we can't even see the rocks in front of us.
I was with Snake. We were in a Connie. We were going to the Javelin. Javelin features a lot, doesn't it? And we actually stopped about a foot from the ground. The canopy was like a foot from the ground, and that's when the lights turned on. That's when the lights actually picked up the ground. It was like they should be brighter. They definitely should be brighter. You should be able to see what you're flying, and if you're flying low, you should see the land, not be flying in blackness still.
At the moment, spotlights, headlights, and all the rest, they are woeful. They are highly ineffective, and like even the modern day standards of a car or even a bicycle or a headlamp, these things are pathetic.
You guys,
I think it's just something they need to work on.
Do you guys remember the bug that was in Arena Commander when you could actually fly into the asteroid base when it was in Arena Commander for a while, or in the free flight mode of Arena Commander?
Damn, I should have known that. No.
If you took an Aurora into the darkened hangar, and you turn the headlights on, it was magical. You could see. It was like flashing a torch. It was great. Oh, they had that again. But
you've got to look at it from the performance hits level. Like you're talking about one ship and possibly 10 to 20 lights per ship. Lights can be a real huge draining resources on engines, especially dynamic ones. Also, especially ones that go across servers. So you're trying to do 20 lights dynamically across a server, and how many different people are looking at it, and how many different people they are sending it to. That can be really complicated.
They're going to eventually have to work this out for things like floodlights.
Okay, so it might be.
It might be a
networking
issue.
Yeah.
So I'm just pointing that out. That might be a huge thing of it.
But that's something I think.
The things we suggested today, like the wireframing and the scanning and stuff, would be a really simple way to contradict that, so it's not a huge drain on resources.
Well, just imagine your explorer suit having a interesting form of night vision, almost. Give you a reason to have a different suit too.
Again, when we talked about different scanning things, and you look at different manufacturers, just an example, a Drake suit could just have night vision because it's cheap and shit, and then a more expensive manufacturer could have like the more advanced scanning. I can totally see that as a viable thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, next question. Captain Shaggy asks, I've recently looked into either a second account or getting a second game package, which I would be able to run two NPCs at the same time with both options, or only having a second account. It does have something also to do with having a second character slot usable NPC. Anyone shed more light on this? Thank you.
My personal view, the only value of an alt account is so you can have an alt character who's not attached to your main, so you can actually do nefarious activities.
I gotta disagree with that, but like I think if you have enough ships for two accounts and you want to segregate it like that, sure, that's fine, that works. But you know, if you're thinking I'm going to share my constellation between my nefarious and my good player, that's not going to work. I hate to tell you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think having a second account does have its uses.
Yeah, I do too.
Being able to be logged into two accounts simultaneously, so you can be in two different locations at once.
Yeah.
So
even
you
if
can
it's
check out the market
you could have a
prices.
store open, you know, and
account that you play with your friends and account that you play on your own. Almost like we were talking
Yep.
about the Dark Matter clone beds, but realistically doing it. So I've got one that I hang around with Haze with, and
Yeah.
another one I hang around with Algared with.
but is there a good reason to have it right now in the real time? No. And having a second game pack on account, they've said will add extra character slots, or you know, for an NPC or something.
One person's a bouncing ball, the other account is not a bouncing ball. So all accounts can be useful with some of the bugs currently.
Oh, there you go. There's actually a number one that we actually want sooner than later. Fix a bouncing ball. There you go. Fix the bouncing ball. As I said yesterday, you know, it used to be it was in Avocadi, it was in PTU. If you got it, and I think it came about from changing helmets or doing something like that. But if you got it, all you did is you deleted your Avocadi or your PTU account, reinstalled it, bang, off you went. But we can't do that at the moment.
Bring this back around to Shaggy's question real quick. Just to kind of answer it, Shaggy, you need to kind of figure out what you want to do in the verse and how you would use the two accounts. So to get back to you personally, you kind of need to decide how you want to use those accounts. If you want to do dual boxing, we don't know if that's going to be a thing yet.
And to come back to what I said, while I was being rather...
Well, you said dual boxing is not going to be a thing. I call bullshit right there.
I said,
but what
well,
you're going to
honestly,
be...
No, we don't know. We don't know how it'll work.
We don't know if it will be.
I disagree.
Probably
I disagree.
I'm not disagreeing.
Because right out of the field, I know I will use that.
Please explain, Haze, please.
You said dual boxing is when you've actually got two computers and two separate clients, and you're running two physical copies of the games on two physical accounts.
Yep.
That is usable. That is useful. Even if it's just an AFK shop you're managing while you go and fly off on missions, and every so often you alt tab and just, you know, move a bit of stock around or make a sale, you know, interact in some way. That is bloody useful.
Yep.
And it's many other MMOs and games people do that on a larger scale.
And I can remember Dark Age of Camelot needing your bot just so you could and you needed a dual box, and you needed your bot so you could actually have your buffs up, because the way buffs used to work.
I'm not expecting you to dual client in the same ship and be effective or even be useful, but in more less dynamic, in something that's, you know, like you set up a player shop on a planet somewhere in Abandoned Metroman, and you multi-client that along with doing a mission in somewhere else, and it's sort of like it's semi AFK type task, and that is amazing.
And while I said, you know, the only value I see in an alt account is for the various activities, that's not quite true, because I do know that there are times you want to go hang out with your mates, and there are times you just want to do your own thing, and you know, you're pissed off at the world, you just want to get away, not be hassled by anyone. You got your account, no one knows you in, you just go off and do your own thing. So yeah. Next question.
All right.
Okay, I think that's it, because most of the other little
What I
questions
don't
are
like
songs we've already
is
covered.
that we can't jump to any point that I want to. Like, I wish there was a way we could pick a point on the map and be able to jump to it.
Well, I'm surprised we don't. We should eventually have as a coordinate system where we can put in a set of coordinates where we know something is and jump to it regardless of whether we have waypoints or not.
You should be able to blind jump, and if they really want to discourage blind jumping being a big thing, they can make it a risky thing too, because I like the ability of, hey, I'm gonna jump randomly to something that's not secure. I might hit an asteroid on my own way out.
Yeah, how useful would it be right now? It's like I need to go another 1,000 kilometers in this direction so I'm closer to my landing point for a descent in through atmosphere. That is such a useful feature. To be able to set, I want to quantum in this direction for this much and then stop. Hopefully they implement that sooner than later.
Yeah, at the moment they get around that with the planetary, the orbital markers.
You shouldn't need those though. You should be able to specify, I want to jump so far in this direction, and it totally avoids the need for those markers in the first place.
Yeah, I kind of agree. That would actually make a lot more sense. Give us more control and a lot of this freaking stupid waiting time. Like, at the moment, most ships are around about 1,000 meters per second, and you often see that's 5 minutes. 5 minutes in a straight fucking line is boring as hell.
It's why I watch so much YouTube nowadays, because I'm sitting here while I'm going anywhere. I'm like, well, let me just watch this video while I'm traveling pointlessly.
Yeah, I alt tab and I watch YouTube.
When we get planets, these are moons, people. These are moons, not planets.
It's gonna take us 8 minutes. Don't worry about it.
It's gonna take us 10 minutes just to get somewhere, and I'm like,
no, we know it takes 8 minutes from ArcCorp to was it Thurston? It was an 8-minute flight in the stream they did.
Yeah, but like, I mean, that was between
and they didn't do the dropouts. I hope they don't do dropouts when you're doing that.
Because, we have 8 minutes of flight just going around a planet at the moment, and it's not because it takes that long to get from A to B. It's because the system doesn't allow you to do custom quantum jumps to get closer to the destination before you hit atmosphere and come back down again. In other words, it's not a problem in the distance. It's not a problem that you can't do it. It's just that the system doesn't allow for custom quantum jumps.
Well, and I don't mind the time for a quantum jump, the minutes in a quantum jump travel. I don't mind that. I think it's, I don't want bang on there. I do hope they don't have. I'm flying 8 minutes. Oh, he's been flying for 8 minutes. We better put an encounter in because he's going to get bored. Oh, no.
Well, I also don't want, like, I prefer the wait time into quantum than I do flying over a planet, because no offense, with some of these planets, is kind of like, I'm getting there. Well, at least in quantum, I can at least have the excuse of being able to safely go take a pee and come back, or grab something to eat and come back. And it's risky because if you have an encounter, but other than that, it's a little bit safer. I can't do that when I'm in atmosphere or about ready to hit atmosphere. So, it's just quality of life. Just saying.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I think we're out of questions now. Had a good run of it. Anyway, well, I think time to wrap up the show.
Well, keep in mind we're going to be having another one right after this. So, guys, just stay tuned because we're going to be popping right back in a few minutes.
With that, I was Algared.
This is Haze, and downstairs we have Dasein and
I'm Execute.
Catch you around.
Bye.
Adios.